Well, our economists are still crunching the numbers. Our forecast will be out the beginning of next month. But we know this right now, those numbers are going to be very bad indeed. The Director General, Roberto Azevedo, said the other day that he believes that these figures are going to be even worse than what we saw in 2009 during the global financial crisis. And in that year, trade volume collapsed by 12%.
In terms of trade in essential goods to respond to the crisis, medical equipment and so on, do you have concerns that some is being prevented from export, and what impact is that likely to have?
Yes, we do. We're monitoring the situation very closely. Now, I should begin by saying WTO rules provide for considerable flexibility for governments to take actions that are in the interests of their people, whether it's health, whether it's security. This can take the form of export restrictions. It can take the form of temporary tariff increases. What's important is these measures must be A, temporary, and B, transparent. The way they can be transparent is if they're notified at the WTO. What we've seen with respect to export restrictions over the course of the last couple of weeks is that they're heavily oriented towards medical products, face masks, other protective items, in some cases ventilators. Interestingly, on the trade facilitation side, we've seen many governments steeply cutting their tariffs on imports of medicine. So we're seeing a mixed picture, but where the restrictions are most evident is in the area of medical products.
And would that be down to individual countries, or is that something that the WTO can facilitate?
Well, it's down to individual countries. We're keeping an eye on this. We understand that when a moment of crisis follows like this, governments need to take action quickly. We've seen some very impressive action from the G20 with respect to fiscal and monetary policy. They had a meeting, a virtual meeting of leaders yesterday. They've announced $5 trillion worth of fiscal stimulus. Central banks are coordinating. But in addition to this, it's very important that they keep markets open. No country in the world, not China, not the United States, not Germany, no country is capable of going it on its own in this kind of situation.
And clearly we're not at an end in this crisis yet, unfortunately. What are the prospects for recovery when we are, and how can the WTO help?
Well, trade is going to be a critical element in terms of the bounce back that we're going to need. Countries need to be able to help each other, and one way they can do that is through trade. Trade, a coordinated effort to try and make trade more free, to try and make trade more predictable and more stable. We're going to see a very large fall in trade in the coming months. What we do not need are additional barriers to trade going up that is going to make this more difficult. Trade can be a multiplier. It can help to really springboard off the fiscal stimulus that's been going on now and help countries to work together and try and lift each other out of the quagmire that's very likely to ensue.